Okay, let's keep going with the cell phone DC electronics. Let's talk about diodes. So what is a diode? We saw a light emitting diode. And what that is that it's a component in a circuit that lets current flow one way. When that current flows a certain way, it dissipates some of the energy that some of the energy that it dissipates in a means of light. It emits light. There's normal diodes, the the less exciting kind than the LED, the normal diode. The normal diode is something that basically acts as a one-way gate, a one-way valve. And in this schematic, in this diagram, I still have the old LED, but I'd like to ask you a question. And what if you switched poles? What if you put the positive pole in the negative spot and the negative pole in the positive spot? What would happen to the diode? Would it light up? No, it wouldn't. If you look at the LED, disregard the two arrows on the right, if you were to take those out, you basically just have a diode. That that little hand that's touching the arrow on the diode symbol, the little plate, that's the current restricting part of the diode. So the current can't flow that way. It just won't let it. The diode would have to be what's called reverse biased. And that means that the diode has failed. So the diode makes sure that if you have something like an inductor in your circuit and the magnetic field that the inductor creates collapses, and the current has to go back into the circuit, where does that current flow? Does it flow towards the diode? No, it can't. It can't. It can only go one way. So it goes towards whatever it's. So for the LED, the current would go towards the LED. So the rest of the current would dissipate into the LED, and then it would reduce to zero back to ground. So the diode prevents the current from going backwards in the circuit, which can cause a lot of havoc. That's what a diode does. It does consume a certain amount of voltage, usually about zero point 0.4 to zero point 0.7 volts, to have it in um, the circuit. And what it does is it limits current in only one direction. So it's very valuable in circuits to limit the flow of current. And for a light emitting diode, it's not so much for a light emitting diode isn't used so much for current limiting as it is just for emitting light.